Alright, well, we are recording.
Yeah.
You ready, Ian?
Yes, I am.
Good, fantastic. Alright, good. That was like a nice 5-second bit of lag there, and I got your answer 5 seconds after I asked the question, so it's going to be interesting. Okay, so, hello everybody, and welcome along to the Love Entrepreneurs podcast. You might notice that this is a little bit different this week, purely because of the fact that we are actually just doing the podcasts as they're supposed to be done. Yes, shockingly, podcasts are only audio-based, and our podcasts are always audio and visual, so technically they're just videos. But this week, due to his incredible view on social media, which also aligns with mine, being that it is the devil and blah blah blah. No, I'm not saying that's his opinion, but it could be. We are not showing our faces this week in anonymity for Cupcake Weekend, or whatever today is. It's the World Cupcake Day, or whatever sodding holiday we've made up now. So anyway, apart from that, say hello to Ian of Zora7 Studios. How are you, Ian?
I'm very well, thank you, Infinity.
Brilliant. Well, due to the fact that I'm getting an entire 2 frames per second, we are speaking on video, but I'm going to turn off my video so that I've just got a little bit less lag, so it can be a lot better for us, because we are still video calling. So, Ian, give us an introduction to what Zora7 Studios is. I noticed that we're talking on the Zora7 official app right now, if you like.
That's right, yes. Zora7 Studios was started... it was conceived towards the end of last year, 2020, and it went into business then in January this year. And basically, we do a couple of things. We work with small businesses and startups on their online presence. So we help them with, setting up their domains, their emails, promotional videos, animations, getting their website up and running, and hosting as well. But the other arm of the business is far more exciting.
Oh, do tell.
We work in the virtual and
sorry, could you just sorry, Ian,
virtual,
could you say that again, because unfortunately you cut out there.
The second arm of the business is far more exciting. We work within the virtual and augmented reality worlds, creating experiences, applications, exhibitions and games within VR and AR. The sorts of experiences that companies can show at trade shows and make their actions and their pitches a lot more memorable. One of the examples that we did some time ago was in a trade show we created for a crane company. Just a little app within a VR headset where people would start on the ground, they'd climb up to the top of the crane, and then they could look around sort of 150 meters above the ground level and just get a sense of how high that crane actually was.
Oh, brilliant.
While it only lasted a couple of minutes, a lot of people were very sort of wowed by the experience.
Fantastic. I mean, I've seen people's first reactions to VR. I mean, I remember my first reaction to VR. It was just, I've got an Oculus Rift S, so when I got the, Oculus Rift S, booted it up for the first time and got into that just introductory program, I was just, laughing with absolute pure giddy delight. Granted, I understand it more than some people. Some people don't understand it at all, so it's completely magical. But when I got in, I had been in VR basically before, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. I'd like to see it be the kind of future of gaming, if you like. Do you think it's the future of gaming, by the way? Do you have that optimistic view on it?
I think that especially now when Oculus released the Quest 2 at the end of last year, that really brought VR gaming to the masses, because now you don't need to spend £600-700 on a headset plus another £1,500 on a computer. You have a £300 standalone VR headset that is almost as powerful as the original Rift, and it's just so affordable now for people. And, companies have created some fantastic games and experiences, but it's branching out now into a lot more sort of real world applications, therapies, and virtual house tours and things like that. And the future is very, very exciting for VR.
I'm hoping so. I mean, a lot of things like to slam it, unfortunately. a lot of, articles coming out from people less informed on the industry like to try and slam it or slander VR or say, oh, this is just a fad or this, that, the other. But I'm in full support of VR, and I really wanted to go somewhere fantastic. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for improving and accelerating the industry. So who are you and what do you enjoy doing, Ian, as a person? Because we like to get down to the personal nitty-gritty stuff here on this podcast.
Well, who am I? That's a very good question. I'm unique. There is nobody else quite like me, or ever has been, or ever will be. That's the way I like to look at things. And I have a bit of a quirky sense of humor. I grew up with the Goons, although that was a little bit before my time. My father loved the Goons, so we had a lot of cassette tapes of those in the house. Monty Python's Flying Circus, that sort of humor.
Fantastic. Lovely.
And that's really sort of influenced the way that I think. My wife tells me that I'm wonderfully unpredictable, is that, every day she has no clue what I'm going to say, or what mad idea I will come up with next.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's the way to be, it's I don't want to be boring. I don't want to be normal or, just another person. I am unique, and I kind of embrace my eccentricity.
Good, as you should. I mean, totally relate to that. I was growing up in the mid-2000s, but parents couldn't really afford many DVDs, or we didn't really have much TV and so on, so we mostly played outside, but we also had second-hand VHS tapes. That's all we could afford, because we got them from the charity shops. So I grew up, even though I was growing up in the 2000s, on Watch with Mother, The Herbs, Bagpuss, Monty Python's Flying Circus, all of which I've still got, and it's still left a mark to this day, so I fully agree with you. Continue to be quirky and eccentric. So that's fantastic. Are you much of a music fan, Ian?
Funny you should mention Bagpuss. There indeed is Bagpuss.
Sorry, who indeed is Bagpuss? You cut out there, I'm afraid.
Oh, yeah. Have a look at the video.
I've got your video off for improved bandwidth, Ian. I'm so sorry.
I'll show you later. It's fine.
Plus, I mean, yeah, we can have a personal talk afterwards, but this is the podcast, and you've decided on audio, so they're not going to be able to see it. They're not going to be able to see it. But I could flash a picture of Bagpuss up on the screen, but no, that would take an extra 5 minutes of editing, and I don't quite think so. Because I think the 6 hours already is enough. But anyway, no. Fantastic. Well, brilliant. I'm glad you mentioned Monty Python.
You asked about music.
Sorry, do continue.
Sorry, you asked about music. From a very early age, I'm a classically trained pianist and cellist.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I've grown up with music. I have a very eclectic taste in music, which ranges from the sublime to the ridiculous, hence Monty Python. But also, I love sort of classic '80s rock.
Yeah, good. Yeah. We are aligning perfectly like two planets.
Mine, which is sort of a kind of guilty pleasure of mine would be Rage Against the Machine.
Ooh, okay, interesting as well. And last thing I was expecting you to say.
But yeah, I know I love classical music. We've gone to a lot of, I've played in many concerts, but I've attended many concerts as well. And I actually attended my first ever rock concert.
Oh.
Just over 2 years ago. When I bought my wife a Christmas present, which was 2 tickets to see Bon Jovi at Wembley.
Wow, okay. Very good taste. I mean, good lord.
And that was a lovely evening, really. Supported by the Manic Street Preachers, so it was a fantastic show. Did you
have good seats or standing areas?
Well, we were sat sort of the other end of Wembley, but we could hear everything quite happily, and we could see most things. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Brilliant. I mean, fantastic. I just picked up. I mean, mine is my sense of music is also really eclectic and strange as well, so I really respect that. It can go from anywhere to Marilyn Manson to what I picked up on LP yesterday, which was Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen. I'm right out there.
Love Jean-Michel Jarre.
Oh, good. I'm hoping that's not sarcasm, because some people really hate him.
Not at all. Jean-Michel Jarre, Mike Oldfield, and Vangelis are sort of my university loves.
Vangelis, so you'll know about Aphrodite's Child then?
I do indeed.
And does that mean that you are the first person I've met that has also listened to the full album 666?
The Leading Horses Back.
Ah! Ah!
I have it. It's somewhere in my room here somewhere.
Hang on, you have it on record?
No, CD.
Oh, well, I just purchased it on LP for quite a low price considering it's an original. And I am obsessed with that album. I've listened to it all the way through at least 10 times now. I'm so happy someone else actually knows about it. Thank God. Ah! Anyway, let's get off this because otherwise we'll be ranting on for ages. You know, we've got to get on. But no, seriously, Ian, you don't know how flippin' pleased I am to speak about 666 and Aphrodite's Child with somebody, because that is like an all-time favourite for me. So yes, is there a story as to why you started Zora7 Studios? Is there some dark thing where a demon appeared on your chest in the night you woke up and it whispered to you, do VR games for a living?
No.
Okay.
Not quite like that.
Worth a shot.
You know, I've been interested in VR for a good many years now. In a previous job, when I was working sort of software development and IT support, we actually got hold of an Oculus Development Kit 1. And this was back in 2014, I believe, or 2013,
wow. So it was
whenever they first came out.
It was that big box then, like that big toaster on the face.
Massive toaster, resolution of 800 by 600, so you could see every single pixel.
Lovely.
And fantastic. My first ever experience of VR was the original Rift roller coaster.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, at least it wasn't the Virtual Boy.
It blew my mind. Well, no, I do. I remember those, but this was sort of in that era. I was very much a Commodore Amiga man. So never sort of Nintendo or Sega at that point. But yeah, so I had my mind blown by VR, and I knew that I wanted to develop for it. So I started, creating a couple of demos and whatnot for the job that I was in. We did a sort of a tropical boat ride through sort of a rainforest with very strange animals, dolphins and whales and things beside you, just because they could be. A couple of theme park rides, bounce coasters and bounce towers and that sort of thing. But I lost my job last autumn after the pandemic, and going into business for myself had been something that I was kicking around for a couple of years. And I thought, right, this is it now. This is the motivation. I sort of needed a kick. So I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to do this. So I spent a couple of months planning, and then started trading in January. And it's not been easy. Businesses never are when you first start them up. But I got a good stroke of luck with a couple of initial clients, including one big VR project, which is just coming to fruition now in a local country park, where I've created an experience for families where they can become a park ranger. So they can walk around the park in VR, picking up litter, looking at animal tracks, using binoculars to view the wildlife. We can have butterflies or dragonflies landing on their hand as well, which has always proved fantastic. Every time I've tried it, people have loved that part of it. So that's just about ready to go now. So we're just waiting for the launch.
Fantastic. I mean, obviously I will put all your links in the description below, provided you send me them. And people can go check that out when they listen to this podcast. But that's fantastic. I heard that my favorite video game series, Myst, which came out in the 90s and 2000s, has been released for VR, and I'm dying to get onto that. If you need some projects or something to get you some notoriety, get in contact with Cyan, and please God, if only for me, make Myst 2, aka Riven, in VR, because I assure you that is your probable road to success, because there's a giant community waiting for these games to appear in VR. But either way, do excuse me. Sorry, can't let my missed fan self out. But that's fantastic. I think, yeah, the interaction directly with kids and people, such as the dragonflies and so on, going on the hand, is really where I think it's, people know they're in a different environment and they think they're in a different world, but it's when something actively, acknowledges their existence in the VR world, whether, by landing on their hand as a thing or just something waving or talking to you or something like that. It feels considerably more realistic. It kind of, breaks another dimension, if you like. But anyway, what's the... Here we go. The next question is kind of an odd one. I often don't do it unless people are music fans, but seeing as you are a trained musician and such, this question gets a bit more away from the business. What's the soundtrack to your life? What would you say are albums or things that have made a great impact on you in any media, not just in music?
I'd say that I suppose the albums that really resonated with me for various different reasons. We have Vangelis Direct,
Mm-hmm.
the first Rage Against the Machine album, all of the James Taylor
Okay.
quartet albums. Absolutely loved their style of acid jazz, and I think probably Crystal Planet by Joe Satriani is another good one. There's a particular song in there called Love Thing, which is just so mellow. It just calms me down whenever I need it.
I mean, brilliant. Very, yeah, as you mentioned, quite an eclectic, an interesting lineup of things. And I actually, everyone that I've spoken to asking this question, has said they've got a strange music taste, which kind of makes me think that everybody's got a quote-unquote strange music taste, in that we all listen to a wide variety of different genres, albums, people, things, and therefore strange is the new normal, if you like. I won't necessarily say that as definitive, but trust me, you're not alone. I met a chap the other day who was dressed in a wonderful suit. I won't mention who. You probably know, it's in the previous podcast. But I met a chap, and he was in a lovely suit, and was running tailoring and so on. Quite a specific thing. And yet he was an acid house DJ in the 90s, and I was like, what? Why? So that was just really interesting. I'm assuming you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
I just wasn't expecting him to come out with it. He's so smart and kind of talking about, tailoring and this, that, the other, and then he's off about being an acid house DJ. So I was like, well, that was unexpected. So anyway, what's the greatest challenge that you've faced in your life and in creating your business? And are they one in the same, perhaps?
I don't know, really. I mean, especially at the moment with the pandemic going on, a lot of businesses, even sort of absolutely huge established businesses, have struggled or collapsed. So possibly starting a business in this sort of climate isn't necessarily the most intelligent thing I've ever done. However, I suppose starting it after the pandemic had really sort of hit us has given me a little bit of an advantage, in that I've been able to structure the business around working remotely, around sort of non-contact. So it doesn't require me to to be there with people. So the lockdown or the rules or anything like that hasn't really applied, because with the advent of remote video conferencing technology, I can do everything I need to right from here.
Yeah.
If I need to go and see my clients, then I can do. But it's not it's not like I have an office and I've got people visiting, or I have a shop, or anything like that. So I suppose that's one good thing about starting the business. The other, I suppose, the biggest challenge, you're going to laugh at this, is in working in VR, is to actually do the work and not get carried away with virtual reality. One of my big hobbies is I'm a dedicated flight simmer.
Right. Okay.
In fact, I'm a virtual pilot for Lufthansa.
Oh wow, okay.
And I'm rated to fly the Airbus A319 and A320.
Are you on Microsoft Flight Sim X or something then?
I use both the X-Plane and the new Microsoft. I use the new Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane 11 as well. Both are VR compatible. X-Plane slightly more so.
And slightly more expensive.
Well,
I mean, I looked at X-Plane the other day. I was like, ooh, I want to go fly a Concorde on a flight sim. Let's find a good flight simulator. And I think it was like I don't know, well over 60 quid or like 60, 90 quid or something on Steam. I was like, oh my god. But I know it's worth it.
Yeah, the Microsoft Flight Simulator is the same as well. If you want decent aircraft as well, you have to pay for those.
Yeah.
But X-Plane's VR is absolutely second to none at the moment, because it not only uses the VR for visuals, so you're actually in the cockpit looking around or peering out of the window, but it also uses the touch controllers, so you can reach out with your hands and flick all the switches. You don't need a yoke or a joystick.
Yeah.
You can just grab onto the yoke in front of you and manipulate all the switches and the throttles from within VR, and it's just incredibly immersive.
And I mean, that's what you want.
Yes, that's a big challenge. It's not do that.
Exactly, like that's what you want. I find myself. I'm sure you do too. That's the problem. You get carried away with stuff. I wonder, have you heard of a game called Vox Machina?
I have. I think it's in my library.
Good. I mean, that's the first game that I personally played. That was a game where you could flick all the switches in a cabin and so on. It's a giant. Basically, you're in a giant mech, and you're fighting other mechs on other planets. Very simple game. Can barely run on my computer, my 2016 gaming PC. But it's fantastic because you go in and you pull all the levers and you can have fun, and you are controlling the thing with your hands. You're not pressing a button or moving it with the thumbstick or something, and that's just incredible. I totally get it. So do you find yourself like getting carried away with your own creativity as well and enjoying the worlds that you create through
I do,
VR?
especially the one time that yes, the time that I managed to get the binoculars up and running, and I spent an hour then just looking around the world, wandering around, and then looking through the binoculars and zooming in on the world that I'd created. And again, similarly with the butterflies. As soon as it started landing on my hand, I was there. I didn't have anything else to do for the rest of the afternoon.
Well, I mean, if I could play with... I think everyone would agree with you there. Butterflies, afternoon, heck yeah, I'd spend the entire one. But no, it's incredible, isn't it, that you are able to create these worlds, and you're able to create them to your specific inspirations and, your just ideals, I guess. You can create whatever you want, and then you can basically go there. It's basically Myst, actually. We've come full circle, haven't we? Writing books to create worlds, making games to create worlds. I think, who's to say that these worlds do not exist, because you're there, and you technically are touching things and interacting things with these worlds, just because they're virtual, who's to say they don't necessarily exist?
I certainly think... Well, I think that that's going to be the next thing now is, you're in VR, you can see, you can use your hands to manipulate things, and I think the next thing is going to be haptic gloves and haptic suits, so that you can actually feel what it is that you're touching.
They also had a side note before we get on to our final question. It's almost over, Ian. I know you're sweltering in this heat. But I was wondering, have you heard of that weird add-on that was on a Kickstarter? A smell add-on for the Oculus Rift or something? Like some kind of scent thing? But apparently it got banned because in America it was illegal or something? I don't know.
I did hear about it when it was on a Kickstarter. I haven't followed it since, but nothing's been heard, so I assumed it sort of dropped by the wayside. But it was an interesting idea.
Yeah, some kind of weird thing that attaches to your Oculus Rift. I think it might have been a proper add-on, not necessarily a Kickstarter. But either way, fascinating how people are trying to innovate in that and so on. People are moaning that we're not innovating enough on the space stuff, and we should have moon bases. But we're able to create entirely other worlds, and we're innovating in different places. But anyway, finally, without the ranting, where would you, not without the ranting on your part, without the ranting on my part, where would you like to go with the business in the future? Where would you like Zora7 Studios to go?
Well, at the moment, I'm in the wonderful position of it's my business, but I love doing it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to the point where I've seen, as we're talking games, I've seen so many game developers go from we build games that we like to play to we now build games because we're told to and we want them to sell to make us money. And suddenly the games aren't as fun. There's a horrible trend now, especially over the last couple of years, where developers purposely make their games less fun in order to sell you microtransactions to skip past those parts.
Really?
Oh yes. So you pay your £50 for the game,
Yeah.
and then there are parts of it that are purposely not fun and grindy and take ages. So they sell you things like, experience boosts or level boosts or something like that, so that you can skip past those. So you're paying extra to not play the game. And I don't ever want to get to that part where I'm creating these things purely to sell them.
Yeah.
I want to create things that I love to be in, and I love to inhabit, if you like, for a VR. I'm dipping my toes into a couple of other things as well. I had a lovely conversation with somebody yesterday about a thought that I'd had for about 6 months, and I've now started looking into becoming a voice talent as well. So I'm going to be looking to do some more.
All throughout this thing, I'm sorry to interrupt, Ian, but all throughout this thing, I have been thinking, when is Ian going to be a classical FM flippin' presenter? Because your voice, and enhanced by the fact that we're not seeing your face on this one, is so something. It's so silky smooth. Or, you could easily be the next Steve Wright in the afternoon. For goodness sake. You should.
Do you know, I have actually done some community radio in the past.
Same here. Fantastic.
As of my conversation yesterday, I've now signed up for a website and I've submitted a few auditions because I have a home studio. I'm music technology trained as well, so I can edit all my own stuff, which is a great advantage apparently. So we'll see if that comes to anything.
I hope I hear you on Classic FM, at some point in the future, because your voice is built for Classic FM. You were born to be a silky smooth presenter on Classic. But anyway, do continue with what you were mentioning. So where would you like it to go in the future?
I think that I'd like to. I'm not necessarily a person who starts a business to make millions. That would be nice, but I'm more in the way that I run my business is that I'm in business to help people. I help people with their domains, with their emails. I help them with their websites. I help them to create these VR experiences. I don't just sell stuff. So I would like to continue with this business. I would like it to grow. I don't know if I'll get to the point where I need to hire additional staff because it's just me at the moment.
Okay. It's pretty impressive.
But I want to just continue to help people. I want it's a satisfaction of knowing that what I've done has either helped somebody or it's made them happy. And that's wonderful. So yeah, I'd like to continue with that. Obviously make sure the bills are paid to grow the business so I can pay more bills, but also to continue to help people. I think that's that's what Zora7 Studios is all about. It's there to help.
Brilliant. Well, I mean,
whether I do that through websites, through VR, through voiceover work.
Well, as a former game designer myself, who only made games because he wanted to create immersive worlds that he enjoyed, and then ended up finding a bit of success, and then focusing on helping the people and creating a community around helping people through the worlds and so on, I cannot say more that I completely relate to and support what you're doing. So I think that's absolutely phenomenal. We've come to the end of our recording time, so I'm just going to sign off. Is there anything else you want to say, Ian, before we cut this thing off?
No, I just want to thank you for helping me through this process, and also Eleri and Silvertree as well. It's I've only just come on board in the last month or so, and already I've met some wonderful people and some great opportunities. So long may that continue.
Absolutely. Well, you've been a fantastic speaker, I must say. I don't think anyone's been bored by the fact it's audio only, because most people listen to it anyway and don't watch the video. But this has been so engaging and so interesting. At least it has for me. I don't know about you guys out there, but it has for me. So I'd love to have a 5-minute chat or something after I just finish the recording here, if that's all good with you, Ian.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Brilliant. We don't have to cut off the thing right after the recording ends. But anyway, thank you everybody so much for listening, as opposed to watching. And of course, I will see you next week.